One thing I always remember growing up was really watching, as a young boy, I was watching my father get ready for work in the morning, and as part of just watching him sort of get dressed. And what always struck me most was very much how he prepared himself, his suit, his clothes, and specifically the way he always put his shirt on, his trousers. The crease would be immaculately, perfectly in alignment with the button of his trousers, and his belt would be millimeter perfect. And his shirt was perfectly tucked in. There wasn't a single crease around the waist. But perhaps, in many ways, his life, I remember, was probably perhaps best represented perhaps by the way his tie was tied. From a design perspective, he always liked stripes. And in many ways, stripes, they're simple. They're straight, they're simple, they're uncomplicated, perhaps without judgment. They're not flowery, they're not overbearing in design or colour, but they're precise, they're balanced. In many ways, somehow it speaks to me that they're not judgmental. See, despite a very humble and modest upbringing, perhaps often spent on the beaches of Penang, Bar chose to tie his tie as the most formal and English of knots, the full double Windsor. You see, the knot is significant because the full Windsor is a traditional knot. Today, increasingly, it's actually rarely tied, and it's often worn by traditional gentlemen. It's a quality that somehow traditionally is increasingly just not found. But it's purposeful, and I think my father represented really a generation that just, it's hard to find. His values were always in respect of the past, but importantly, I think, in fair consideration also of the future. The tie, the full Windsor, requires a lot of patience. And my father, he's demonstrated the most amazing patience of any man. Be waiting for the fish to bite, which could have been hours, if at all, or perhaps waiting for his children who were late to school, or maybe mum who was late again. Or simply taking the time really to listen to his children, to Debbie and myself, who often perhaps we sought advice on many of life's complexities. Bar was a man, he had patience, and it's a virtue that somehow he's had seemingly unreserved amounts of. The full Windsor is also quite a complicated knot, actually. It takes patience because it is complex to tie. It requires extra loops to go through, even though on the outside it's a very simple knot covering. And just like the knot, I think my dad was a very simple man on the outside, and yet his assessment and insider analysis of circumstances and situations was thorough, it was complete, and rarely ever with a stone left unturned. His ability to distill the complex down to the simple was invaluable for people, for friends, for anyone who ever sought his advice in life's difficult situations. The full Windsor is characteristic because of its balance. It's perfectly balanced from left to right. All the complex knot making underneath, despite all his analysis and understanding, it always resulted in an outcome that he desired that was simple, and it was always perfectly balanced and fair. Balanced in thought, opinion, technical consideration. Bar was a fair man to all, for those whose analysis, his patience, his time taken. You could be guaranteed that he knew the balance and the fairness of situations. The full Windsor is also a very full knot. And I think more than anything else, though, the fullness represented his life, that it was always plump and full. He loved life to the full. He loved his work. He worked long hours, but he also loved his food. We all shared his love of food. Barbecues, any of you remember? His love of music, and also love of sport. He loved giving time for his friends and his family, at home, at work, and very much at play. The Four Winds also talks about, I think, conscious dedication. You see, it was always perfectly tied, but also flush all the way to the shirt collar. See, the knot is not tied through circumstance or happenstance, but it's with a conscious decision and choice. It is purposeful, and always a harder, more difficult knot. It is a harder, more difficult choice and step above, beyond the regular alternatives. My father was committed to the continual pursuit of the truth, and that which was the best for all around him. It was rarely the easiest choice for him. It was often at his own disadvantage. But it was not this righteousness. It was not self-declared, but it was a godly righteousness bestowed as a result of simply doing things well. So the things that God had given him in his hand, the talents and the gifts, he always did it to the best of his ability and faithfully to the end. And so as God may say, his word says, "Well done, my good and faithful servants." Oh, may you rest in peace. For a life well done, well finished, and completely thought through to the end. I'll miss you. I always love you. You've been a shining example to me of what it is to be a gentleman in the most honourable and faithful of ways. You've proven what is required to go the extra mile. In pursuit of godly righteousness, his love, honour, commitment, and dedication to your family. Thanks, bud. See you again one day soon. You're a great example, and I'll miss you.